So Acura just released the pricing on their new NSX Supercar, and it comes to the tune of $156,000 base price and $205,000 with options. I'm going to say right away that I think that's overpriced by about $50,000 on both ends. So where we should start is talk about what the NSX is. The NSX now is really nothing at all like the NSX of old. The NSX of old was, a way more purist, simpler car from a simpler era. This is a tech-driven car from a tech-driven era, and it's a crazy hybrid with a combined output of 573 horsepower, and it weighs about 3,800 pounds. It's all-wheel drive. It's got every tech bit you could imagine. It's not a purist driver's car by any means anymore. And, it largely, that kind of goes with a lot of the market, but, it's not really following too much in the footsteps of the old one. So, many people who've driven it have kind of, likened it to sort of like a super, like an exotic version of a GTR, like a hybrid exotic GTR. But to me, that just says it's less practical. And honestly, I'd be surprised if it was faster than a Nismo GTR around a racetrack. And especially for all that extra money. Yeah. So, at 150 to 200,000, you're competing with cars like an Audi R8 V10, Porsche 911 Turbo S, that stuff, McLaren 570S coming out, Ferrari California T if you're looking for a GT car that you can enjoy as a convertible, and even you're starting to push up on like a Lamborghini Huracan for the same kind of money. So, that's some pretty stiff competition. Let's just be honest here. I don't think too many little kids, go to bed at night dreaming about an Acura. Most of them are dreaming about Lambos and Ferraris and McLarens. That to me, this is just overpriced, and here's why. So let's ask, why do you buy a supercar? For me, there are two reasons people buy a supercar. One is for the driving experience, and the other is for the image. The driving experience is just it's the total package. It's the quality, it's the the kind of crazy position you sit in a car like that, and it's not normal, and it's not meant to be normal. You got some crazy engine, a hell of a lot of performance. But that said, performance is not the only reason you'd buy a supercar, because there are way faster cars that are way cheaper. It's the total package, and then in terms of image, a lot of people buy it just to be able to say they have a Lambo, just to be able to roll up in a Lambo and be hot shit, and that kind of thing. And, a lot of that's just sort of the brand and the badge that matter. And, people just want to think they have a big dick. So that's why people buy it. Now, for me, from what I've heard, I haven't driven this car yet, and hopefully I will at some point and do a real review. But from what I've heard so far, the driving experience is very sort of digital, and it's sort of, a lot of people are saying it's sort of like a GTR in that way, where it's like, it's good and it's fast, but it's not really you who's doing the driving, it's kind of the computers. When I drove a GTR, I was sort of left a little cold by that. So, to me, that type of thing, I'd rather have a more analog car that I am sort of on the hook for driving more. If I make a mistake, it's my fault. The car that'll let you make some mistakes, maybe a little bit more fun. So the driving experience is mid-range. It's fast. There's no denying the NSX is definitely fast. But in terms of like a real driver enthusiast kind of car, there's probably a lot to be desired, and certainly a lot more you could have for the same money. So the image. Here's the problem with the image. Acura. Only other cars Acura makes are rebadged Hondas. Acura has always been the sensible person's car who, got a bigger paycheck all of a sudden, so they want a quote-unquote luxury car, but they're not really ready to buy a real, big-time luxury car, so they buy a Honda Accord with slightly nicer interior and whatnot. And that's fine. Hey, I love Acuras. I would buy an Acura as a daily. They're great cars. But that doesn't bring much clout to the supercar and exotic market. You're going to go around the table and your friends will be like, yeah, I just got the new Lambo. Yeah, I just got the new Ferrari. What do you have, Bill? Oh, I drive an Acura. Oh, okay. What? What do you drive? So it doesn't really bring much clout with it. And so I think you're not going to really get the poseurs buying this car. That said, I do think it's a great overall package. It's certainly, people like modern technology, and it certainly has a hell of a lot more power and performance than a BMW i8. It's at a higher level. But I think overall for the kind of money that they're talking about, it lacks in both the driving experience for enthusiasts and the image, that the poseurs would like to have. I think every other car you could buy for that money, and I'm not even counting the used market where you could have some really baller shit. Yeah, for 200,000, I know for a fact you can have a Ferrari FF, like 2 years old. And if you're looking for baller, nothing beats that. Certainly not an Acura. So to me, I think Acura is sort of taking the Acura approach, which is like a sensible approach to a supercar. They've tried to make a supercar that you can drive every day, and to me, that isn't really what a supercar is supposed to be about. A supercar is supposed to be something crazy. It's a thrill ride. It's not supposed to be transportation. It's not supposed to be a sensible way to get around. It's supposed to be a thrill ride that you just go drive for the sake of driving. And that's what like a Huracan does. You get that screaming V10. It's not economical at all, and it's not supposed to be. If you have $200,000 to spend on a single car, you can afford to have a daily driver. It's not supposed to be your only car, and if they're gonna do that, if I was gonna have one car, I would pretty much have like a BMW M3 and do a chip or something, or an M5 or something like that. Something you can definitely have way more power than this, and you could still fit 5 people in it. To me, a supercar is something for a special experience, and trying to make it usable every day just dulls it. This is big money we're talking now. So again, I think if they made it 100,000 to 150,000, it would be a much more attractive package. Competing directly with the BMW i8 and the Porsche, Carrera S and all that, the Jaguar F-Type and whatnot. I think in that market it would do a lot better. Just because I think the brand recognition at that level isn't quite as important, and I think substantively there it would be more on top of the pack rather than kind of in the middle of the pack in terms of performance. So you'd have the tech tour de force stuff, but I think that probably drove costs up on the car, and they had to really price it high. But I think it's priced way too high, and I'm not saying nobody's gonna buy one. I think it's a great car overall, but great compared to the price is really what makes sales, and I do think they're going to struggle to sell these things. So take it or leave it. You might disagree. Maybe you would buy an NSX if you had $200,000 to spend on a car. I sure as hell wouldn't. I would probably buy the California T, or spring for the Huracan or an R8 or something, just to have that full-on experience. This nice screaming engine and a proper exotic. But I really couldn't fault anyone for buying it. I just don't know what market it is they're talking about, because supercars by their very nature aren't sensible, and they're not supposed to be sensible. So I think the NSX, we'll see. I think it's going to struggle to sell after the initial flux of orders. So that's just my take. Check back to the channel for more, subscribe, and we will see you next time.